What is going on? Welcome to this week's market update. I'm going to call today Speconomics. A little bit of economics, a little bit of speculating, a couple stats sprinkled in, and you've got a recipe for a great update for your clients. So let's jump in. We're going to start by talking about probably the biggest news in national real estate news this past week, and that is new home sales, which I've got pulled up right here. And the quick summary is that new home sales jumped to 12.2% to 763,000 units last month, which is the highest level since February 2022. So let's look at the chart here. You can see new home sales really just taking a shot to the moon in 1 month, which is pretty crazy. And if you look, this is a really interesting chart because if you look at home sales, new home sales, and then month supply, in 2020, when people came out of COVID with lots of cash and super low interest rates, builders went crazy, and inventory obviously decreases significantly when everybody goes out and buys new homes, and everybody probably remembers that there was lines out the door and lotteries for homes, and I mean it was nuts. And a lot of that shifted since then. And so what we've talked a lot about in the last 3 to 6 months is how builders are building a lot of homes that nobody's buying. Inventory's up. And so if we look at months supply for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's been really high. I mean, as high as 10 months of supply. And as we've seen demand skyrocket for new homes, we've seen supply go down a lot, obviously. So 763,000 sales last month. And just so we're on the same page, a new construction sale isn't when it closes. It's when a contract between a builder and a buyer is signed. And so that happened 763,000 times last month, which is pretty wild. And it's important to pause now and talk about why. And the reality is a lot of homeowners are staying in their house. They're not selling because they're not giving up that interest rate. And so what it's done is create this vacuum for builders to thrive. And so they are cleaning up on the fact that inventory is so insanely low. And so you've got these builders that are able to offer some incentives to buyers. Maybe they're offering them a 3-2-1 buy down, or maybe they're buying their rate down, or they have in-house lending that can give them a sweetheart deal. Somehow, some way, builders are finding a way to get buyers to be okay with that price, or with that interest rate and that price. So prices have come down on these too, and it's kind of created that opportunity. And we usually see that in seasons where inventory is so low, builders take advantage. But let's look at interest rates real quick, because this is also interesting. Interest rates have been at this level for essentially 10 months, almost 10 months now. They've been over 6% for over 10 months now. And so if you look at, they touched 6% down here in, when is this? February, beginning of February, late January. But really the last time we got to 6% interest rates was September, and that was just brief touch. It was really back in August till we saw consistently below 6% interest rates. And so that's the environment that buyers have essentially become okay with. I mean, they've decided that it is what it is. Buyers are relatively confident they're going to go down, and so we've got buyers not afraid and jumping in on new construction. So the next Fed meeting is in July, late July, July 25th, 26th, I think 26th. And right now there's an 86.6 or 86.8% chance that that the Fed funds rate, which affects the interest rates, goes up another quarter point. And so most likely we will see another quarter point hike. We'll see rates consistently above 7 at that point, most likely. And the other predictions within the Fed funds tool here that we're looking at are that for the rest of the year there will be no more hikes. That this will be the only hike for the rest of the year, and then pause, or skip, or whatever you want to call it. And so the general message is that buyers need to be prepared for sticky interest rates and sticky inflation. That we will most likely see rates continue to stay above 7, and we will most likely see inflation remain hot. We've seen a little improvement in inflation. There's been a lot of probably misplaced excitement or joy or celebration around what's happened to inflation, and that's largely because the only real change, the only real thing that's been affected much is energy, and we won't get into a whole lot of that. But the fact is, I mean, when our strategic petroleum reserve, which is the purest, cleanest oil in the world, is liquidated to hold gas prices down, to make GDP look good because we're exporting that oil to China and we're selling it to them. When we're doing this to keep inflation down, make it look good, keep gas prices down because that's favorable, that's popular, yes, it makes inflation look a little bit better temporarily. But if we look at, let's pull this up real quick here. If we look at the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and then the core CPI, which is essentially all the basket of things they look at minus food and energy. So the minus food and energy, the core, is right here, the blue, and that has come down quite a bit in the last couple of months, and that's great. But when you look at food and energy, which last time I checked, people do still have to pay for those, it's still pretty high. We're still up there. And so, I don't know if you realize this or not, but we use a lot of energy in the winter. And summer we can kind of get by because we're not heating homes, we're not using a lot of the types of energy we might need throughout the winter, and prices are going to go up this winter. And so inflation will stay hot. We won't get into how hot, whether that, remains to be as sticky as it was last year. But the fact is, that's just what buyers need to be ready for, is that interest rates are probably staying hot through the rest of the year, and that inflation will be there too. So let's see. Let's jump into, just looking at our numbers right now, we're going to zoom into Denver, but we are in the middle of the hottest time of the year too, market-wise. So spring and summer, this is when the most business happens, and so we are seeing the market kind of prop up some of these negative factors. So difficulty with inventory, difficulty with interest rates. Well, we're doing okay because this is the busiest season, and so buyers and sellers need to be cautious about the fact that the reality is winter's coming, and it's going to be a cold one. So let's get back into, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's talk about Colorado. I'm going to go to a couple of things real fast here from our good buddies at Redfin. Let's look at three things. Look at new listings, we'll look at sales, and we'll look at prices. So interesting thing with new listings right now is that, we see it every day. They're continuing to trend down. And if we track that with interest rates, so the bluish brown black line here is 2022. And so we saw, where are we at? 1,600 new listings in this same week. So 4 weeks ago from today, a year ago. We're down almost 30% year over year in new listings, and we're trending in the wrong direction. And so the fact is, there is relatively low demand right now because of interest rates, not nearly as high as it would be and was. And there's also low inventory. And we've talked a couple times recently about how typically those work in tandem. You got high inventory, you're going to have low demand. You got high demand, you're going to have low inventory. Well, we have this weird moment right now where we have both low demand and low inventory. And that's the direction we're trending. Let's go over to sales. And, I'm sorry. Hang on. We got to get to Denver. I had it pulled up on Denver. So let's go to sales. Done. And with home sales this year, we're 953 down about 22.5%. But look at this. When interest rates went up last year, which was kind of right about here is when we started seeing them move up. Well, we started trending down. As rates kept going up, sales kept going down. But this year, rates haven't changed. Rates have stayed stable, but we're seeing sales go up. Pretty soon here, we're going to start catching last year's numbers. And this is just a reminder that buyers have accepted it. Buyers believe that either they like that prices have come down, so they can take advantage of that. They'd rather have lower prices than lower interest rates because they're smart. Or they just know that rates are going to come down and they're going to refi. There's still a strong opinion that the Fed is going to pivot soon and that rates are going to come down. I don't think it's going to be quite as quick as people think. But okay, so that is sales. And then lastly, let's look at median sale price. And so this one is very interesting to me because, like I said, last year, if we look at where rates went up, which was really right about here, kind of August is when we really started feeling it. They were trickling up, but look at prices. Prices just started tanking. So at our height, we were size 617 average in the Denver metro area. And these numbers play out on the whole front range. We're looking at very specific numbers for Denver metro, which goes, a majority of the front range. But the numbers are the same in the Springs. The numbers are the same in Fort Collins. The front range all did about the same thing. So we saw prices continue to trickle down as rates went up. But then we come into this year, and that continues a little bit, and we kind of hit our bottom in maybe late January, early February. And then rates don't change, but prices just start skyrocketing. And so we were average at 530 right there. And I think last week we probably topped out at just under 600, from 530 up to 600 in the last 6 months, as rates have stayed relatively unchanged. So largely just a function of no inventory. And so, I think for sellers, this could be a great opportunity in the next month or two. If they don't have any interest in hanging on to it for a long time, it could be a great chance for them to step back. And I would strongly encourage you to have that conversation with them so that they have the chance to take advantage of what I think is a pretty unique opportunity for sellers right now. So, last thing we'll look at, just because this is always a fun piece. Let's bring this over. Is just in the last week. And, this is something that I think everybody should be pulling up once a week and just seeing the most updated numbers in their market of what's happening. But 1,323 new listings in the last week. I mean, that's encouraging. That's some good inventory that the market really needs. And we're seeing a move. When we see a pretty healthy balance between new stuff coming on and homes going off the market and pendings right here, that's a great market. We've had seasons where we'll see double the amount new, then go pending. We've had times where we see double the amount pending, then come on new, which is a scary time. And anytime we're seeing these numbers relatively balanced, it means that the market's giving transactions. Buyers and sellers are both finding some happiness in accomplishing their goals, and that's great news. So there you go. That's where we'll stop for today for our market update. But hope you have a great day, and we'll talk later.